In the bustling city, there lived a young billionaire named Alex, a man who seemed to have everything. His life was a whirlwind of high-stakes business deals and glamorous parties. Yet, amidst the opulence, he felt a profound emptiness. One day, at a charity art auction, he met Eleanor. She wasn't a young socialite or a model. She was a woman in her late 70s, with eyes that held the wisdom of a lifetime and a smile that could calm any storm. Alex was instantly captivated. He found himself drawn to her stories, her wit, and her serene presence. She saw past his wealth and into his heart, something no one else had ever bothered to do. Their connection was immediate and deep. He began visiting her regularly, leaving the corporate world behind to spend hours in her cozy, book-filled apartment. Listening to classical music and sharing secrets they'd never told another soul. Society, of course, was scandalized. Whispers and headlines followed them everywhere. Gold digger grandma, one tabloid screamed. Billionaire's bizarre romance, another declared it. But Alex and Eleanor were in their own world, impervious to the noise. Their love was genuine, a quiet rebellion against a world that couldn't understand them. Alex proposed on a rainy afternoon, not with a grand gesture, but with a simple, heartfelt question over a cup of tea. Eleanor, with tears in her eyes, said yes. The wedding was an intimate affair, attended only by a handful of their closest friends. The public's fascination, however, had reached a fever pitch. What would happen on their wedding night? The speculation was wild and often cruel. People expected some strange transactional arrangement. After the quiet celebration, Alex and Eleanor returned to his sprawling mansion. He felt a nervous energy he hadn't experienced before. He led her into the grand living room where a fire crackled warmly. He expected ... Well, he didn't know what to expect, but what Eleanor did next left him utterly speechless. She didn't lead him to the bedroom. Instead, she walked over to his massive, state-of-the-art entertainment system, fumbled with the remote for a moment, and then turned to him with a mischievous glint in her eye. "Alex, my love," she began, her voice soft but firm. "I've waited my whole life for a love like this. A love that isn't about passion in the way the world understands it, but about a deep, soulful connection." She paused, then gestured towards the large, dark screen. "Tonight, I want to share my greatest treasure with you." Alex watched, confused, as the screen flickered to life. It wasn't a movie or a TV show. It was a video file, old and grainy. The title appeared, The Eleanor Archives. The video began to play. It was a documentary, a beautifully compiled collection of moments from her life. There was Eleanor as a young girl climbing trees with a fearless grin. There she was as a university student, passionately debating in a crowded hall. There she was as a young journalist, reporting from far-flung corners of the world, her voice filled with conviction. There were interviews with people she had helped, lives she had touched, and projects she had started. She had built schools in impoverished villages, funded scholarships for underprivileged students, and championed environmental causes long before they were fashionable. Alex sat mesmerized. He was watching the story of an incredible life, a life lived with purpose, courage, and immense compassion. He saw that the small fortune she had was not inherited, but built through savvy, ethical investments, and nearly all of it was funneled back into her philanthropic work. The whispers of her being a gold digger were not just wrong. They were a laughable insult to the legacy she had built. She wasn't after his money. She had her own mission, her own wealth of experience and impact. As the hours passed, one video led to another. They weren't just home movies. They were a meticulously organized digital legacy. She had documented everything, not out of vanity, but as a record, a blueprint. Alex realized what was happening. This wasn't just a trip down memory lane. This was a handover. This was her legacy, her life's work being entrusted to him. The final video ended, and the room was quiet except for the crackling fire. Eleanor turned to him, her eyes shining. "Alex," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I don't have many years left. My body is failing. But my spirit, my work, it needs to continue. The world thinks I married you for your money. In a way, they are not entirely wrong." Alex looked at her, understanding dawning on his face. "I didn't marry your bank account," she clarified, reaching for his hand. "I married you. Your heart, your sharp mind, your energy. My resources are limited, but yours. With your influence and your capital, you can amplify my life's work 1,000 times over. You can take what I started and build an empire of compassion." It was the most profound, most shocking, and most romantic proposal he had ever received. It wasn't about a single night. It was about the rest of his life. Tears streamed down Alex's face. He finally understood. His life, which had felt so empty despite his billions, was about to be filled with a purpose greater than he could have ever imagined. He wasn't just gaining a wife, he was inheriting a mission. He pulled her into a gentle embrace. "Yes," he whispered. "Yes, Eleanor. It will be our legacy." That night, they didn't sleep. They sat by the fire, planning. They sketched out the future of her foundations, brainstorming ways to use his business acumen to scale her philanthropic projects globally. The young billionaire and the elderly philanthropist, a team united not by fleeting passion, but by a shared vision for a better world. In the morning, the world awoke expecting a juicy scandal. Instead, the first announcement from the newlyweds was the launch of the Alex and Eleanor Foundation, a global charity with an initial endowment of $1 billion dedicated to education, healthcare, and environmental protection. The tabloids were silent. The critics were stunned. The world, for once, had nothing to say. They had witnessed a love story far beyond their comprehension, one that would change the world long after both Alex and Eleanor were gone. Their wedding night wasn't an ending, but the beginning of a legacy that would truly last forever.